Welcome, everyone, to the second day of Reclaim Your Energy and Reconnect with Your Essence. Today, borrowing from yesterday, I am going to be pointing to solutions to what was brought up yesterday. To review, we covered 3 areas, which were, if I remember them correctly, people-pleasing, perfectionism, super self-reliant. So we're going to begin right away interacting with the chat. So can you say yes in the chat if it's clear to you that being very self-reliant is disadvantageous? Yes in the chat. You all see that super self-reliance is a good thing? Say yes in the chat if it's true. Or are you shy? Okay, we're getting yeses. Just to briefly describe super self-reliant, it's based on early childhood wounds when no one was there for you enough or significantly, so you felt alone. And feeling alone, there was no one there to rely on. So you had to rely on yourself. So the child part believed in order to survive, you can only rely on yourself. And that is a pattern that has gotten you to today. You are a survivor. But as I try to point out to you today, and I will again yesterday, and I will emphasize today that relying only on yourself is disadvantageous. For one thing, it emphasizes your additional belief that you're alone. There is really no one there in your world to help you. And as an adult, of course, that seems crazy, but we're talking about the inner child created with very limited experience. And mostly it was about pain, feeling alone and feeling no one else there. So I have to do it. So that's what I mean by self-reliance. So I hope that that becomes clear. So next, say yes in the chat if you can see how perfectionism creates pressure and stress that you can do without. Yes in the chat. All right. So I know what that's like, getting the script together for today or the prompts, the slides. They're not perfect. And I've come to the place of it's good enough or it's perfectly imperfect. So hopefully, when we speak about the sources of the solutions today, you'll see that you can end up in a place where it's very comfortable to say, it's good enough. Or say, I'm perfectly imperfect, and have a big smile in your face because you know you're in a place of being at peace with yourself rather than having this negative voice going, gotta do better, this is not right, don't make mistakes, and so forth. Okay, say yes in the chat if you have seen since yesterday more of your people-pleasing behaviors. You're being nice, polite, following the rules, not creating any conflict, and so forth. Yes in the chat if you can see more and have seen more of your people-pleasing behavior, especially in social situations. or in work situation, you don't want to stand up as the wrench in things. You want to be seen as someone who's cooperative. And sometimes you have an idea that is not with the trend, but you don't speak up because you want to make sure everyone's pleased. So, yes, in the chat, if you can see that more of your people pleasing behavior. I can just look over the last 24 hours. Liz, a recovering people pleaser. Oh, Anne, can you tell us what your name is? That was one of the things I wanted to make sure to identify names with the what shows up in the chat. All right. Okay, now we move to, let's see if I can bring up the slide. Uh-oh. I'm presenting you the slides, 3 keys, reclaim your energy and discover your essence. As you can see, I have something I didn't remove there. Imperfectly perfect. Oh, perfectly imperfect. All right. So today we're going to go over 3 keys to help you discover your essence. And these are the 3 sections. We're going to talk about the essence of your inner child and how you can get there. The second is to talk about the power and the heart of forgiveness. And the third is the power and divinity of your subconscious. They're all interconnected, but we will see. Let's do a quick introduction. Yesterday, I introduced myself in terms of my credentials. I have a PhD in clinical psychology, which I was given in 1981. Talk about self-reliance. I remember going to the post office and picking up my PhD certificate and looked at it. And I think I'm the only one who has looked at that certificate. None of my families celebrated with me when I got that degree. I was that isolated. So there's more of a story there, but I got my credentials and have spent the last 40 years plus working with clients. 20 plus years ago, I became a certified practitioner in the Barbara Braden School of Healing, a healing science practitioner. And since that time, and even before that, I investigated many, many ways of healing, personal development, spiritual development, and so forth. But it's not until 10 years ago when intuition brought the phrase, listen to the cries of your heart, that everything changed for me because it began my journey in healing my heart. And the intuition, looking back, I realized was the positive voice inside of me, my divinity speaking to me. So we can talk about that more later when we come to that section. I have asked you to say, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so, and we've done that. And we will get to know and interact through the chat from this way forward. All right. Now we'll begin a segment where I will talk about your inner child. When we spoke about the 3 patterns yesterday, these are only 3 of the patterns that you as a young child created for yourself when you were hurt because your needs weren't respected, seen, understood, or met. And because they were created in childhood, the whole point of the patterns and everything created then was survival. So today is talking about how do you move beyond survival? How do you heal your inner child? I don't know because I don't investigate all the inner child books out there and um, YouTube videos and courses. But I did, out of curiosity, pick up Reconciliation, which is a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, the only wisdom teacher I know who has written about the inner child. And in this, he speaks about how you connect with the inner child. He says, you need to embrace and hold him, as they've never been held before. And in other places, he says, when you're having a great time, bring your inner child in so they can experience these positive things too. When I reflected on the work that I do with the inner child, I thought, that's pretty easy, isn't it? Signs of the inner child, which we'll talk a little bit more. You just go, oh, okay, embrace that inner child. But I realized that Thich Nhat Hanh, embracing his inner child, is quite different from I or you embracing your inner child. And what do I mean by that? How much presence you can bring when you connect to the inner child. That is the level of how much consciousness and mindfulness you have that you carry every day, as much as a day as possible. Put yes in the chat if you're not so good about being aware, being conscious 24/7. I'll put a yes in the chat. It's it's a challenge. So when he says, bring that present and compassion to that inner child, it's not that easy. Are we getting any yes in the chat, Holly, about people admitting to, yes, it's not so easy to be present to yourself and anyone else for that matter, even for 5 minutes in a day?
You have a yes from me, Anne, and you have a yes from Doug.
All right, rest of you, Liz, uh, let's
And a
see.
yes from
Yeah,
Sorry. I don't know how
yeah.
to pronounce your name. Apologies.
I think it
Beautiful.
was Sarun.
Sarun?
Yeah.
Sarun. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful name.
Okay. Yes. The other way that you connect with your inner child is a general method similar to what I just described. Michael Brown has a book called The Presence Process. In it, he has a 6-week program where you practice being present. And the point of the practice is to bring this presentness that you have acquired to any emotion that you have, like negative emotions of fear or anger or sadness. And if you can be present fully to that emotion, it will disappear because your emotions are only signs that say something's not right here. But because we don't pay attention, they linger. And then the inner child who has anger, sadness, and fear, and the source of that haven't been healed, they are there to be triggered. And Michael Brown says these two can be resolved if you can be fully present to them. I have an energy teacher who I spent her presentation time with, who does it energetically, who helps you get totally in your energy body. And when you clear your energy body, you are clearing out the stuck places of trauma. So there are this very holistic ways of healing your inner child. By my way is, yes, to connect with the inner child to the signs, anger, fear, sadness. Yes, to connect to the inner child when you see the beliefs of not good enough, I'm alone, the world is not a friendly place, I can't trust, any of those beliefs. And the patterns, like people-pleasing, perfectionism, conflict avoidance, um, intimacy difficulties, trust issues. So these patterns go, and this is the most important point that I can make today, and I hope I repeat it in so many ways, you'll say, I think I got it. And that is, all of these lie in your subconscious. I'm going to be talking about the subconscious in the third section. And the subconscious holds not only the beliefs and patterns, but the traumas, all your habits. The subconscious is wonderful because it keeps us moving through the day. We don't have to think to breathe. Well, we do sometimes. Don't have to think, beat heart, and keep it all going. The subconscious takes care of these things so we can live our life. But when we have these limitations in the subconscious, how can we release them? And that's what we'll be talking about in the third section. So healing your inner child is much more involved from my point of view than connecting. Everything takes an expansion of consciousness. As I say, it's beyond conscious effort. And what's the point of this? What's the point of healing your inner child? Well, from the immediate point of view, it's because we don't want to be in survival mode. We don't want to be bothered by anger, fear, or sadness. We don't want to see ourselves repeating patterns and so forth. We want to be free. But what does that freedom mean? From the way I work, all the healing of the inner child removes the wall around your heart that was built long ago to protect yourself from never being hurt again, never to have your heart broken. And this is the way I know of brick by brick to remove the walls so you get connected to your undefended heart. My last spiritual teacher said to me, or said to the group, something that probably most people forgot, that the goal of spiritual practice is an undefended heart. Because an undefended heart holds your wisdom. It holds your connection with spirit, with a capital S. When you come from your undefended heart, you see the world differently. You see yourself differently. You don't see yourself through the wounds. You see yourself as you are, innocent. Remember, we did an exercise yesterday, and I think we might repeat it in a different form today, about imagining yourself 3, 4, 2, in a field of being a child, playing, being spontaneous, creative, all of that, but primarily innocent, not having any of the fears of the adult. And that's the point of doing the inner child work, from my view, to clear all that, to reclaim your innocence, reconnect to your essence. And I have a taste of some of that. And it's inspiring. That's where my inspiration comes from, that connection. Uh, yeah. So that is why healing the inner child is essential to find your essence. All right. I have an exercise. So just to conclude this section, to get you interacting again, please say yes in the chat if you see signs of your inner child today or yesterday. Were you angry, hurt, fearful, or sad at any moment in time? Are we getting any yes in the chat? Not yet.
We have
Yes, some yeses.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a few. We've got a few in there actually.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And have you seen signs of your belief of being alone or feeling not good enough, doubting yourself, procrastinating because you are afraid of taking on the task that you don't feel quite up to, or seeing signs of the negative critic in your head, the judge. I call it the judge. It's part of perfectionism. So that tells me that you are going to be ready to hear my biggest offering in terms of how to heal your inner child. All right.
Definitely got a couple of yeses coming in there, Anne.
Wonderful. So let's see what my sides say about where to go next. There, I did all that. Here's a quote that I use over and over again, and it reminds me, love is what we are born with. Fear is what we learn. The spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and prejudices and the acceptance of love back in our hearts. Love is the essential reality and our purpose on earth. Say yes in the chat if you want to live from your original love essence. Say yes in the chat if you want to unlearn your fears and unlearn your prejudices. Are we getting some yeses? Good. All right. That is what let's see, we have time to do this just for a minute. No, we're going to do it, we're going to do it later. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. I've got to remember that. Okay, here is key 2, the power of forgiveness and compassion. And I'm going to tell you the story of the little soul in the sun. But before I do that, I think I want you to do this first. Identify one person you haven't forgiven. Focus on that person and notice how your mind, body, heart, and soul respond to this person. So this is a place of honesty. Is there someone in the past or present that you haven't forgiven? Who, when you think of, it brings up something in you which isn't warmth, compassion, and love. Can you think of at least one person? Say yes in the chat if you have identified one person that you have a quiet or loud negative response to. It is a person you haven't forgiven. And I want you to focus on how it feels in this place of not forgiving. What thought comes to mind? How could they be that way? What happens to your heart? Yuck, I want to run away from this person. In your body, maybe your heart is pounding, or your throat is stuck. You can't say what you want to say. Check it all out. So write a yes in the chat if you have found one person.
You've got a few yeses in here, Anne.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to do that quote right now.
Some people are saying that they've been there, but they've healed through that, which is,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Then you have not found a person you haven't forgiven. If you
Doug's
there was
asking if he can
someone,
use himself.
huh?
Can you use yourself? Doug says.
Of course. Of course. If you get angry with yourself or you feel guilty or ashamed, you are angry with yourself. If you blame others or you complain to people about how other people are, there are people that you haven't forgiven. So perhaps you could widen your view of people who disturb you. It might be the person in the car next to you, or who drives down the street so fast in a residential neighborhood, or people who tailgate you. Does that upset you? Um, Broaden your view about, or the person in front of you in the grocery line that has a ton of things in their cart and you're anxious to go. Your irritation and annoyance are all about people that you have an issue with, anyone you have an issue with. So by now, I hope you have now found more than one person you haven't forgiven. Okay? So let me see if I go to the slide I want to. No, 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 no. I have lost my screen share.
And just while you've got getting that back up, and Natalie says that everyone and everything uh, causes a response or a feeling.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for your share and the honesty. Now, the key of the power of forgiveness and compassion, I want to present in a story. It's by Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. He extracted something for a children's book called The Little Soul and the Sun. And to summarize what this story is, the little soul is up in heaven in the clouds having a conversation with God. And somehow he comes to the question as, who am I? What's my identity? And God said, well, who do you want to be? And this little soul comes up with, I want to be forgiveness. And God says, okay. So the next scene is he is pulling out of a chest the costume he's going to wear for the lifetime where he's going to learn forgiveness. And as he's doing that, the friendly soul comes up and says, I'm going with you. And he says, why? She says, well, we've done this before, but I want you to promise me one thing. I'm going to cry. Promise me one thing. When I do the worst things to you imaginable, I want you not to remember who I am. I'm an angel, but I'm putting on this costume so you won't recognize me. Because if you forget who I am, I'm going to forget who I am, and we both will be lost. So this story ends with God saying, yes, remember, I only sent angels. So the next issue is, can you see the person in all the situations that you have a little irritation or huge anger with? And can you see the angel in them? Can you do that? Or is it not so easy to do that? Write a yes in the chat if you're having trouble seeing the angel in Donald Trump, an angel in the politician that has the worst reputation in your country, seeing an angel in any political figure in the world who is wielding power. Can you see the angel there? And to go back into history, can you see the angel in Hitler? Not so easy, is it? So the power of forgiveness and compassion calls to us to be more than we are. And that's what reconnecting to our essence is. Because if we return to the love we were originally, of course, we can see the angel because we are all one. They're just aspects of you scattered in the world. And you are love. That's the ultimate goal of reconnecting with your essence. So write a yes in the chat if you feel it's important for you to get there, to reconnect with your essence, with your love, and you're being able to see with oneness. A footnote to this is that in my journey in the last 5 years, I've connected with the One with God books, which is the voice of awakening. And it's all about seeing oneness more and more. And it's been how I have personally connected to my divinity, besides another way, which I'm going to talk about shortly. So that is how I will conclude this segment. Oh, here is a quote that says something similar. I don't know whether you remember Gerald G. Jampolsky, but many decades ago, he was the voice of love. When we think we have been hurt by someone in the past, we build up defenses to protect ourselves from being hurt in the future. So the fearful past causes a fearful future, and the past and the future become one. We cannot love when we feel fear. When we release the fearful past and forgive everyone, we will experience total love and oneness with all. So put a yes in the chat if that is where you want to be, experiencing total love and oneness. Yes? Not sure? All
You've
right.
got a lot of yeses coming in there.
Wonderful. This is key 3, and it's important. It's good that I have time to talk about your subconscious. What is the subconscious? I hope I am reviewing things, but every time I review this material, it impresses me again about how important the subconscious is. The iceberg in this illustration shows you what is in the conscious mind and the 95% that's in the subconscious mind. Now, listen carefully. Everything you are today, everything you have in your life right now, comes from the subconscious. The scripts are there about your identity. The scripts are there about what you say, see, say, and do. It's all there. So unless you tap into the subconscious mind, you can make little progress in recovering your essence, in becoming the better person you want to be, in becoming, move into thriving and not surviving. The subconscious mind keeps all the habits going. I remember this experience I had going down the stairs. I decided I was going to do it subconsciously. Um, going down the stairs, subconsciously, you can do it. You go down. But then bring your conscious mind to taking the steps down the stairs. I stumbled because my conscious mind couldn't handle the intricacies of getting all my leg muscles and ankles and feet going down, tripping down the stairs. So the subconscious mind is excellent for all the habits that keep us driving when our mind wanders. You've had that experience. How did I get here? The subconscious mind drove the car. So the subconscious mind is wonderful in so many ways, but it holds all the trauma, all the negative beliefs, all the negative patterns, and all those habits that keep you in the same place. So if yesterday, last week is the same as what today is, it's because your subconscious mind is going along merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. That's one of the things that came out of with One with God. The voice said, this is what it is. We just go down the stream in a dream. And so this capacity to connect with subconscious mind is so important because you are living a life of a dream created by what's in the subconscious. Does it make sense to you? Are you more impressed about the importance of your subconscious mind? Please say yes in the chat if you're being impressed more and more about how important your subconscious mind is. Yes, yes. Are we getting some yeses, Holly? Okay, let's see what we have next.
Yes, very grateful for it, some people are saying. So.
All right. Now, this is a way of putting what I said more elegantly. Bruce Lipton wrote The Biology of Belief. He is a geneticist and has really moved into the implications of what genetics he learned from. And he says, if we could get your subconscious mind to agree with your conscious mind about being happy, that's when your positive thoughts work. You need your cooperation with your subconscious mind if you want to have joy in your life rather than more distress and fear. So he impresses upon me how I need to get my subconscious mind to agree about positive things, which brings up all the conscious things you have tried to make things different for you. Let's see what the next slide says. That's my answer. All right. So think about all the conscious things that you have done to change your beliefs and patterns. Get a positive mindset. Think positively. Write affirmations. All of that, do you realize, is on the conscious level? And the conscious mind can't penetrate the subconscious like that. It has to be, dramatic or a huge punch to make it through into the subconscious mind. This brings to mind people who suddenly awoke, like Byron Katie. Byron Katie, if you know her, was miserable woman living in a halfway house, just not a very good life. She woke up one morning and she had changed. And the person she was able to write these beautiful books that can help people about what the truth is. David Hawkins also woke up in a flash, and Eckhart Tolle did too. Eckhart Tolle had a miserable life for decades and decades. And one day on his park bench, something happened, and he wasn't the same person. He was so much so not the same person that somebody had to rescue him because he couldn't function in the world. That's how dramatic you can be punched out of the subconscious mind ruling in the way that it would normally do. I have a gentler way that I want to explain to you about how you collaborate with your subconscious mind. It's called MAP, Make Anything Possible, and it's about collaborating with the subconscious. What we do when we work with the subconscious is first, we get your consent to communicate and train your subconscious to become a healer, to learn how to treat. Learn how to treat very gently. And the purpose of treating are the trauma parts, the child parts that run you. The subconscious is directed in sessions to treat the survivor parts gently so that they don't disappear, but they get integrated with the adult. So sharing memories and coping strategies, they collectively can make decisions together. Where prior to that, before the subconscious treatment, the child parts were doing their job to keep you surviving. From this process point of view, the reason why the beliefs and the patterns persist because they were created so young. They were committed to your survival. So they don't want you to change because change is scary. They want to keep you on the survival track. So they fight in some ways, resist your changing. And that's why in working with the subconscious, once treated, we call superconscious, we can have superconscious gently communicate with these child parts so they let go of their resistance. So all the conscious efforts that you've made, meditating, affirmations, connecting with your inner child, listening to meditations and so forth, may not be effective because there are these strong survival parts that will not let go. And unless they're connected with and communicated with, you're stuck. Is this making sense to you? Please write in the chat if you have a question, or is this beginning to make sense that you need to find a way of connecting with your subconscious? So the final question is it important for you to find a way to connect with your subconscious? Please write a yes in the chat. How are we doing there?
Yeah, we've just got one yes come in from someone who's just new in actually, Vera and Doug.
Hey, do you have questions about the subconscious or about the method I presented to you?
There's a question. Well, Natalie, did you want to put your question in the chat, Natalie, or Doug?
Does anyone have a question? All right.
Say that there, Anne, the question.
Okay.
There's
Good
a couple coming
question.
in now. Mm-hmm.
Very good. I love the questions. Does hypnotherapy help with accessing the subconscious? Yes. Hypnotherapy puts you in the space where you can access the subconscious. However, hypnotherapy training may not be as extensive or deep as I use MAP to be. And this gives me an opportunity to talk more. You can do self-hypnosis but what you're doing with your self-hypnosis is you're seeing what you're seeing, but you're not seeing what you cannot see. That has you in the position that you are in. And that's why it's helpful to find an experienced, trained hypnotist. But if their knowledge of psychology is limited, knowledge of healing is limited, that's how limited the hypnosis will be. So if you've had hypnotherapy, and still find that you're not at peace most of the day, you know you haven't healed the inner child. This is how I know that I have reconnected with my innocence. I go through most of the day in peace. And when I'm not, I check it out and I'm learning to forgive. Forgive the person for irritating me and I'm happy to say in the last few days, I remember to forgive more easily because apparently have healed more parts that I'm not stuck. I say, oh, there I am. I'm irritated. Oh, I can forgive. I forgive and I can let go. So that's one long answer to the question. So when we suddenly get angry and yell at one person, this is your inner child at work, Saroon. When you get angry or burst into tears or get suddenly panic stricken, it's the inner child in the subconscious showing up. Natalie, an integrative counselor, as well as a hypnotherapist, are all qualified people. My question to you is always to ask, how are you doing? If you made progress, identified and working with the inner child, but you're still not at peace, there is deeper work to be done. I love these questions. Keep asking them. How can we get help to move I can forgive on a daily basis? Well, this is how, you're welcome, Natalie. This is how I explain it. I do my work. I, every day and every night, I connect to my oneness, to be reminded. And I've done this for at least 5 years. And only in the last few days have I remembered, oh, whenever I judge, whenever I react, usually in anger or irritation, it's an opportunity to forgive. But it's taking that work to take down the walls around my heart, which is inner child healing at a deep level. And I was, that's how you get to forgiveness. Oh, here is another exercise that I would like to present to you who still feel not ready to admit that you need more work with your subconscious. Think about how you saw the world today. Whatever came across in your news feed, um, whatever came in your experience. If you didn't go out and meet a sunny day and just bask in the beauty of all of that, hear the birds singing, returned into the house and face the work or whatever, if you were in and you're not feeling eager to get into what you're doing, inspired to do that, then there is work to do. So think of any situation today that came to mind. The poverty in the world, the cold spells and tornadoes and typhoons and earthquakes and the wars in too many places. When you see all that, stop and realize, to the degree that it bothers you is the degree that you haven't reclaimed those lost pieces in yourself. Because when you have that, you can look and see, oh, everybody in their costumes, they're on the stage playing this big drama. And it doesn't affect me because it's an illusion. Maya, as the Buddhists say. I hope I'm using the term correctly. Or it is being caught in the dream of the planet that Don Miguel Ruiz, the author of the Four Agreements, talks about. We get into this conditioning of how to be. It's all the shoulds you have in your life that push you and irk you. When somebody isn't doing a should, then you get irked. They're not doing it right. Or if you don't do something because you fear making mistakes, all these things I've spoken about, it disturbs your peace. So if you are not experiencing peace most of the time, there's work to do. And the subconscious is very powerful in helping you do the work. I'm going to share my screen to help me get through the next few segments. So I have spoken.
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you, Anne. You've just had a question come from Liz saying, can you repeat the amount that something bothers you? Just, I
Yeah.
think you were
Yeah.
explaining that. You can explain that again for Liz. That'd be great.
Whenever you have a disturbance in your peace, it is showing that there is an inner child that is disturbed, because whatever it is touching on a wound. I'm not safe enough. That's one that gets touched as we experience the world the way it is. Or if people don't come through to you for you, your friends, your family. We're approaching a holiday season. If you haven't been invited or included in gatherings, you feel left out. If you ever feel left out in your life, in the past or in the present, that is a wound, because you felt left out when you were in your family, ignored and neglected. So, to the degree that whatever happens in your world bothers you, shows you there is more healing to be done. I find every day more healing to be done, but for the most part, I feel peace. And that is what I wish for you. And that is why I do the work that you do. I do, that I want to present to you. I have a 10-month course that has these components in it. The first step is uncover your hidden stress and emotional pain. You'll realize that I've been doing that in today, but we go into depth in all areas of life so you can see the stress that you don't realize that you have and the pain you don't realize that you carry. The second is to reset and strengthen your emotional intelligence. This segment here is all about looking at every negative, upset, distress, anger, fear, or sadness as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to connect with your heart, to understand what the message is from the heart. So we learn to identify, and we learn to see how we react to these emotions. And then we learn to align ourselves with the emotions to begin to connect with the heart. Listen to the cries of your heart to begin the journey to heal your heart. The third, align deeply with your heart's wisdom. I've already spoken about when you heal your heart, taking the walls that was created to protect your heart. You are connected to your heart's wisdom. You're connected to an inner voice, not the judge, but one of loving kindness. Imagine that being the voice that you hear instead of the one saying, that's wrong, you can do better, that person isn't doing it right, and so forth. Fourth, number 4, recognize and connect with your inner child. I spent enough time today, I think. And then to heal and nurture that inner child. 6, harness the transformative power of your subconscious. That is what I spoke about in the MAP program. So in this 10-month program, we begin by building awareness of what bothers you, but we also begin by having you have your subconscious trained. So every week that we meet, after we spend 60 minutes discussing some issues, we spend the next 15 minutes doing a group map session so that all of the trauma parts identified with the issues you've recognized, the memories that you have recollected, we treat it in the group sessions. And if that isn't sufficient, there are these resistant parts that I've talked about. You have individual one-to-one map sessions with me to go further and do the work. Step 7, awaken and embrace your divine presence. This is ultimately where we want to end up. I want to see what the next slide is. Yes, it's about the testimonials. I want to read some segments of reports I have gotten from people who've taken this class. All of them say one version of this or another. I'm not the same person that started the course. I am not overwhelmed by my emotions, especially self-doubt and fears. I'm taking more chances. For example, doing poetry reading of poems I've only started creating, and leaving behind being stuck in an unfulfilling relationship. I have another person in the group who has a similar story in that she was stuck in a marriage of 25 years, knowing that the husband was a downer the whole marriage, but she stayed there because there's something in her that felt she could not leave. But after working, she was able to leave and is free from having to be with him. Another is a testimonial from a one-on-one client. He says, and so powerful in her healing, has helped me remove emotional blocks that changed my life, caring and compassionate. I was diagnosed with FND and very fortunate to find Anne. What she does is so unique and powerful. And then finally, all the words from one client. With Anne's guidance, I coaxed my inner child out from hiding, helping her feel safe and release fears and defenses. Now, I know I deserve to take up space and hold space, which has helped me better understand boundaries. Today, I feel more like the tall redwood trees I sit under, with a stronger connection to the God of my heart, grounding me and letting my soul speak. There are such precious wisdom quotes that I could choose, but this is the one that I chose for today. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Ralph Waldo Emerson. And to kind of review, What lies behind us, I think I've tried to make quite clear to us, are all the things that didn't work, all the painful experiences that set up survival strategies, and that is projected into the future. So we have a fear-bound past and a fear-bound future, unless we go within and find a treasure in us, which is what the self-love path is all about. It's self-love, not S with a capital S because it's the beginning of the title, but it's an S with a capital S. So you can book a time with me where we can discuss your issues and talk about what services and programs I have. No obligation, a time to digest what was presented here and talk about it. Your objections to what I might have said, a time to just chat. So take this down, and Holly will put it in the chat so you can click on it, copy it, and making sure that it's correct. And there it is. It's 1:11, which is much earlier than I intended. There are there's some things that we can do. But is that enough? Do you have further questions?
And there's a question asking from Natalie what books you'd recommend on emotional intelligence for reading.
Does anyone have something come to mind? There is one book on emotional intelligence by Goldman, and it's certainly something that is worth exploring. Oh, but let me address this important thing. Reading books, taking courses online, consulting with gurus like Goldman. He is the guru on emotional intelligence. It is one step, but this is probably your self-reliant piece acting up. I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to get the information myself, and I'm going to figure out how to get out of this. That's one thing. The second thing is that it often addresses your intellect. You want the words, you want the answers, and you've done this. You've read so many books, courses, listened to gurus. It all goes in your head. And that is one of the things that trauma parts do. Remember when you were little, you were there by yourself, and the only thing you had was your burgeoning brain, your intelligence, your thinking mind. So from that point forward, you were wedded to believing that your thinking mind is going to find all the answers it needs. And what does a thinking mind do? It categorizes, it analyzes, it tries to fix things and all of that, but it is taking things apart. It may give you insight and understanding. You go, oh, that's the answer. But does it translate to something in you that you can see the changes? Because you've taken a different step forward. The translation of what is taken into the mind and translated into your day, there is a huge difference there. So I have had to treat my clients for the commitment to the thinking mind that the early trauma parts took on. And that's one thing. And as I said before, in terms of the self-reliant piece, when you work by yourself, you can't see anything more than you can see. That's the problem. The subconscious is defining all that you can see. But if you work in a group, other people say things that spark things that you didn't even think of. Um, or someone responds to what you have to say, and this empathic, compassionate connection helps you stay with yourself a bit longer, that something else gets cleared up. So working by yourself is really limited because you're stuck with your intellect, and how you see yourself, what you see, it's all the same. We need different experience to puncture how we go through life. And this is what the 10-month journey. Okay. Doug, Gloria, oh, you talked about what triggers when it is, what do you do when the triggers of self-reliance, for instance, when it was caused by everybody else relying on you? To me, you're asking two different questions. When people are relying on you, you are in the pattern of people pleasing. That's what people pleasers can appreciate. People rely on you and you feel important. It gives you self-esteem. But the cost is you feel the weight of people relying on you because the demands increase or the people increase, and you're never meeting your needs. And part of what our emotional work is to return to the heart and learning what its needs are that were neglected in childhood. So that's one answer to the question. Anytime you get triggers, it's about inner child. Remember, the triggers come because in your adult situation, you were experiencing something very similar to what happened to you when you were young. If someone disappoints you because you were expecting that they would remember you, for example, my partner is really good about remembering things he feels I need. But then I'm so used to that, when he forgets something I need, it irritates me because I've gotten into the habit of having my needs met. And when they not, it's irritating. And I get angry and I say something, and we figure out what's going on soon enough. But that's how it is. So I hope I'm answering, Gloria, something of what you asked, but ask another question if I haven't. Who is the self that's doing the self-help work? That is excellent, Doug. It's the limited self that's trying to do the self-help work, and the self-help work would be as limited as that individual is. And that's why self-help needs outside help, not just from a mentor or a guide, but a group of individuals committed to the same um, same purpose and intention. I was reminded as I was thinking about, I am in the process of the second meeting of a group I've already started on the self-love path. And I was going to remind them of this thing that is part of a mastermind group. And that is, listen, when two or more are gathered for a common purpose, a greater wisdom shows up. I translate this to mean that when we're all intent, as we were today, in getting something of this presentation, our collective energy, a lot of greater wisdom to show up for me in response or in teaching, or for you in asking a question or some insight that you have. A greater wisdom shows up. And one thing about a group is once you say something, it's out there. They can hold you accountable. They might say, hey, what about this thing you said you were going to do last week? And then you're held accountable. And you can be honest and say, I forgot. And we can talk about what's behind the forgetting. You forgot because you were caught up being so busy, busy until this next meeting. So we need to address your busyness. So in some ways, this is how we're kept accountable. We're seen both in our magnificence as well as in our stumbling. Okay, up there, Doug had presented a book about the Enneagram. And how many of you know about Enneagrams? Would you write a yes in the chat if you know about Enneagrams? Do we have any yes in the chats? Anyone know about Enneagrams? Yes, heard of it. Okay. You're welcome, Gloria. Okay, now on the Enneagram book, what are Enneagrams? Doug, do you want to answer what are Enneagrams? You probably do a better job than I. No? Unmute yourself.
It is a
I can't
system.
hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's a system of personality description that originated from the Sufi tradition, and it is designed as a way of understanding our personality, where we start from our personality, the positive and the negative attributes, how that personality responds to stress, and how that personality has a blueprint towards evolution, towards developing a bigger sense of wholeness, uh, and ultimately, because it comes from the Sufi tradition, connection with oneness. I will say it's very intellectual. A lot of people use it as a way of understanding themselves so they can forgive themselves more. But a lot of people get stuck because they don't see it as a dynamic process where you're supposed to evolve. Um, so that's and it's consists of 9 basic personality types. Uh, I think it's a helpful tool, but it runs into the same pitfalls that a lot of self-help processes do.
Yeah.
Because we can delude ourselves into thinking we're further along than we are.
Thank you. I also use one or two times in the self-love path for everyone to check out the Enneagrams. And it's, as Doug says, it helps to identify where you are and can see how everyone else is. Then you have fun pigeonholing everyone. Oh, my daughter is this. My daughter is that. And my son is this, the boss is this, and so forth. And they miss the part about evolving. And I love that, Doug, you said the intent is to get to oneness, to start there and find the path there. And it's similar with this presentation that I've presented today and yesterday. Welcome, Jeff. I'm sorry that you're showing up in the last 5 minutes, but be assured that I will send out the recording of this in about an hour or so when I get it in YouTube and I can get it out to you so you can catch up. Because what you missed are 3 areas which are, I consider, crucial to anyone who feels stuck in any of the beliefs of the inner child. I am alone. I'm not good enough. I can't trust anybody. I'm the only one here. I have to be self-reliant. I have to be perfect and all of that. And the second one being, can you forgive? And one exercise that we did was to think about individuals in the world and standing before the 2 main political figures in our country and whoever is in your country and say, I forgive you. Can you see that there are angels wearing their disguises to make you miserable, to torture you, so you can learn to forgive? Because that's what we're here to do, to come to forgiveness, to come to a place where they are you. We're all one. And that's the oneness that Doug referred to in the Enneagram book. So let's see. And the third had to do with the power of the subconscious. I am super blessed that I am who I am with the capacity to treat people with MAP, because it is quick, it is deep. And that's kind of the sad thing about it. I don't see people for a very long time. I was going through the list of people that I've seen. Oh my God, that was 3 years ago, because they healed sufficiently. But for those who recognize that they do get stuck and they are serious about becoming the most that they can be, they are the ones that sign up for 10 months, commit themselves to show up each week, and we do the work all together. And that's what I am inviting you to in the course that I presented in the last few slides, Jeff. And you can book a call with me. As I said, no obligation, just a chance to debrief and talk about what your questions and struggles are, and we'll have a good time. So copy that, what Holly has put in the chat. I did not introduce you to Holly Macy. Macy, is it Holly? Macy? She's in Ireland, so it's like 9:30 her time or something like that. And I met her in a group that we belong to. I was so delighted because her main words were that I saw the courage to love. Doesn't that kind of depict what I'm talking about? So we have so much in common, and to have her be here supporting me, I thank you, Holly, for the wonderful work that you kept me up with the chat and so forth.
You're absolutely welcome. It was beautiful to listen to you. It's so beautiful to have all those recommendations and step into that course. I could imagine would be very, very, very special.
Thank you, Holly. With that, I'm going to actually end at 1:30. And Jeff, I hope that you will, thank you, Holly, Natalie, for saying hi to Holly. Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for being here and participating. Blessings the rest of your day, rest of your life, and maybe we'll walk together. Bye for now.